So 2022 is here, and with the new year comes new sneaker releases. And this is always an exciting time for me because the entire new year is filled with possibilities. We know about some sneakers dropping, we know about the leaks of other sneakers that are possibly dropping, and then of course, there are those sneakers that we don't even know about that are probably going to drop. And just about every year that I've been doing sneaker YouTube, I like to do a list of the top 10 sneakers that I'm looking forward to most in the upcoming year. But because there are just so many sneakers that I'm so excited about coming up in 2022, I couldn't fit them all on a top 10 list. So instead, what I'm gonna do is something that's gonna take me double the amount of time to edit and double the amount of time to film, and that's a top 20 list. So in today's video, which is actually my last video of 2021, we're gonna talk about my top 20 most anticipated sneaker releases in 2022. Shoot, I should have done a top 22 list. Why didn't I think of that till I started filming? Whatever, I already started filming this, let's just jump right into the list. So starting things off at number 20, we've got the Air Jordan 4 Red Thunder. So right off the bat, this shoe bears a striking resemblance to the Air Jordan 4 Thunder that last released in 2012. The only real difference though is that instead of yellow being the accent color on this sneaker, you've got red. And from what I've seen online, a lot of people are really excited about this release. However, it does seem like there's gonna be a good amount of pairs available. Now the good news is, for those of you who are excited about this release does happen very, very soon. In fact, it actually happens on January 15th. My only gripe about this shoe though is the material quality. It looks like the black nubuck that they used on the upper just isn't gonna be that great. But at the end of the day, it's a black and red Air Jordan 4. You can never have enough of those, and it's one of those non-OG colorways that kind of looks like it could pass as an OG colorway, and those always do well. Moving on to number 19, we've got the OffWhite Nike Blazer Low. Now obviously in 2021 we lost a legend, Virgil Abloh, may he rest in peace, and unfortunately before he passed away he wasn't able to see the release of all the sneakers that he had lined up. And the OffWhite Nike Blazer Low was one of those sneakers, and it's really interesting because this shoe is such a huge departure from the previous Off-White Nike Blazers. Unlike those shoes, which were essentially just standard Nike Blazer mids that had received the Off-White treatment, this shoe seems like a completely redone Nike Blazer Low. Obviously the shoe features those sort of signature Virgil cutouts throughout the upper, which we saw in shoes like the Off-White Air Jordan 5s. However, the main difference between this shoe and really any of the other shoes that he's done is that it looks like the entire heel portion of the midsole has been completely switched out with this really interesting new heel portion, which kind of seems like it came out of nowhere. Now I have no idea why he decided to change out the heel of the shoe in this way. All the other changes made to the shoe seem pretty standard for Off-White. Maybe that's the reason, maybe he wanted to try something completely different, I don't know. But it gives the shoe a very unique look, and one that I honestly think will be kind of polarizing. And for me personally, this is not a design that I'm immediately drawn to. It's the kind of shoe that I want to see in person because I don't want to judge it prematurely. I want to understand why the heel looks the way that it does. But honestly, this design is just super interesting to me. I want to know what it's all about, and that's why it's on the list. As of right now, I haven't seen too much information about the release of this shoe. The shoe was supposed to release in 2021, but of course because of Virgil's passing, they pushed the release back out of respect. So no one really knows exactly when this shoe is going to drop, but hopefully it's sooner than later. Coming in at number 18, we've got the Nike Dunk Low Court Purple. So Nike just seems to be continuing the trend of just pushing out dunk colorway after dunk colorway, and I've got to be honest, as long as the base color of the Nike Dunk colorway is a black or a white, you could put pretty much any accent color on top of that and it would look great. And I know a lot of people are just rolling their eyes right now because I know a lot of you guys know exactly why this shoe is on my list. I'm sure you guys already figured it out, so I'm not gonna go into detail. This actually isn't a real helmet. You can't put it on, so that's why it wasn't pushed all the way down. But man, after those cursed court purple ones, I need another shoe that I can wear to games. I just need something else. And in my biased opinion, this is one of the cleanest Nike Dunk Lows to drop in 2022, and I'm extremely excited about this release. But as far as the release date for this pair of court purples, no one really seems to know yet, other than it's supposed to drop in 2022. But because there's official images of this shoe already circulating the internet, I'm sure this shoe is dropping sooner than later. Coming in at number 17, we've got the Adidas YEEZY 350 V2 Compact in Slate Red. So if you guys caught my review of the Yeezy 350 V2 Compact in the Slate Blue colorway, the launch colorway of the shoe, you know what I think about that sneaker. And for those of you who didn't see that video, what I think about the sneaker is that it's not the prettiest, but it's by far the most comfortable Yeezy. And while I was a huge fan of the Red October Nike Air Yeezy 2s, I'm not as big of a fan of this all red compact. Granted, we haven't seen real images of this shoe just yet, but I'm expecting it to look something like this render. And honestly, if it does, I'm not that interested in the shoe. However, I will say that because it is the most comfortable pair of Yeezys I've ever worn, I mean probably even more so than the foam runners, which I think is an insanely comfortable shoe, I wouldn't be mad at having two pairs of them. I mean, I know it's a little excessive, but if I can grab a pair of these for retail, I'll rock it. I know there's a lot of hype around all red Yeezys, especially Adidas all red Yeezys, even 10 years out from the Red October release, but it just doesn't really do it for me the way that red Roshis used to do it for me. That's a throwback. Regardless, if you want a pair of Yeezy compacts and you don't want to pay resale, even though resale isn't that crazy right now, the red compacts are not a bad way to go. And based on the rumors going around right now, it looks like these shoes should drop before the end of February, probably around the 27th. Coming in at number 16, we've got the Air Jordan 1 Brotherhood. So as you may have guessed from the name of this shoe, this colorway was based on the colors of Michael Jordan's fraternity at college, which I think was actually Omega Psi Phi. Omega Psi Phi. That could be like a PlayStation game or something. I wasn't in a frat in college, but I can understand the brotherhood surrounding a fraternity, and because of that, I'm surprised that it took them this long to come out with a Brotherhood-themed Air Jordan 1. And I'm sure every single fraternity brother at that frat after this release will be wearing these shoes, or at least have a pair of these shoes, which makes sense. And honestly, it's not a bad colorway. I really like the yellows or the university golds that they used, and the sort of like maroony pink color that they accent it with. I'm not always a fan of non-OG Air Jordan 1 colorways, but this one, the color blocking's done well, the colors that they used are nice, and overall, it looks pretty solid. And as of right now, it looks like the AJ1 Brotherhoods are dropping before the end of February on February 26th. Coming in at number 15, we've got the Adidas YEEZY Slides in MX Cream. So with all the MX releases that Adidas and Kanye have been dropping, I'm surprised it took this long for us to get an official MX foam slide. And I know there's probably going to be a bunch of MX slides dropping in 2022, but this is the only one I know of at the moment, so that's why this shoe is on the list. I actually just grabbed my first pair of Yeezy slides that I'm actually going to keep and wear on a daily basis. They're the Yeezy Slide Ochres, and I've got to say, now that I own a pair that I wear a lot, I'm in love with them. They're incredible shoes. And so because of that, I feel like I just started a new addiction, which was completely unnecessary, and that is a slide addiction. I already have a sneaker addiction, and this is just becoming a much bigger problem than it already was. So Kanye, if you're watching this, please try and limit the colorways because I'm gonna have to buy all of them now. But as you could have guessed from the name of this shoe features sort of a mixed up colorway on the upper. You've got mixes of creams and yellows, and it looks like also some grays. And it's just a super clean Yeezy slide, and I'm super excited about it, and really any of the other colorways of Yeezy slides that are dropping next year. Actually, speaking of that, there's also the charcoal slides, which are not on the list, but I guess they could go in the same spot as the MX slides. They come in all black, and I feel like an all black Yeezy slide is totally overdue. So because of that, I'm sure that shoe is gonna be hyped up. But unfortunately, as far as we know, there are no official release dates for either of these slides just yet. Make sure to stay tuned because I'm sure we'll find out in the next couple months. Coming in at number 14, we've got the Air Jordan 12 Playoffs. So it's actually been just about 10 years since this shoe last released, which is kind of crazy because this is one of the most popular Air Jordan 12 colorways of all time. And obviously Jordan Brand knows that, so they've been hyping up this release, and it looks like they're gonna drop it right around All-Star Weekend in 2022. As with the originals, it looks like the upper of this shoe comes in a black tumbled leather accented by a white mudguard and a white midsole, and hopefully, because this is kind of a special release, we'll get something a little bit special in terms of packaging, or maybe something else that comes included with the sneaker. I don't know what that would be, but I'm hoping for it. And like I said, it looks like the Air Jordan 12 Playoffs will be releasing during All-Star Weekend of 2022. Following that up at number 13, we've got the Air Jordan 1 Dark Marina Blue. So this shoe kind of has the same color blocking as the Air Jordan 1 Reverse Breads that dropped a year or two ago. I don't remember. It was 2020, right? Must have been 2020. However, instead of red as the accent color on this shoe, you've got blue. So essentially, it's almost a reverse pair of Royals. Or maybe it's like a blackout version of the Storm Blues. I guess Dark Marina Blue is probably the best name for it. As you can tell from the images, this shoe features a black leather upper accented by Dark Marina Blue. And it honestly looks like one of the cleaner and simpler Air Jordan 1 High colorways to be dropping throughout the entirety of 2022. So I am very excited about this shoe. As far as release, it looks like the AJ1 Dark Marina Blue should be dropping near the end of January, around January 22nd, but as we've seen with a lot of Jordan Brand releases, it is very possible that this release date might get pushed back. But hey, we'll just have to wait and see. I am very excited about this shoe, so hopefully it stays near the end of January. Next up at number 12, we've got the Adidas YEEZY 350 V2 Dazzling Blue. So it almost feels like we're back in 2016 with this release. This release reminds me a lot of the Black Friday Yeezys that dropped back in 2016, and is one of those shoes that I'm surprised it didn't drop years ago. But hey, you know what? I'm not mad that they're dropping it now, and I'm just happy that we're getting it at all. In fact, blue is one of the more rare colors to see on a pair of Yeezys. Usually we get earth tones or yellows or greens. It's actually really nice to see a very bright, vibrant blue on the side of a Yeezy in such a prominent place. And not only that, it looks like the construction of this shoe is the same as the older Yeezys. And yes, while that kind of stinks in terms of sizing, it is nice to get a shoe that really looks like it could be timeless. Like it's a shoe that could have released in 2016 or now releasing in 2022. Either way, I know there's a lot of people very excited for this release, and it does look like they're dropping sometime in the spring. spring. Coming in at number 11 is the Air Jordan 1 Heritage. So most likely you were like me and you missed out on the Travis Scott Fragment Air Jordan 1 highs. Well, although we'll probably never be able to grab a pair of those for retail ever again, it does look like Jordan Brand is giving us a chance to grab a shoe that, in my opinion, is actually a little bit better. So the inspiration behind this colorway and this color blocking is the same inspiration that Travis Scott and Fragment used on their collaboration. And that's a pair of unreleased Air Jordan 1 highs. Unlike the Travis Scott Fragments, it looks like they decided to switch out the blues for reds, which I actually prefer. Red's just my favorite color. I love blue, but red, there's something about it that I love it. And so in my opinion at least, I think this colorway is a lot cleaner than the Travis Scott Fragments. Don't get me wrong, I'd still love to have that shoe, but I think overall colorway wise, I prefer this one. It's almost like they decided to switch out the black on a pair of breads with white, and I don't think it looks bad. I obviously still prefer the breads, but this is a pretty nice looking pair of sneakers. And I'm just hoping that this shoe won't be anywhere near as limited as the Travis Scott Fragments. I'm assuming it won't be just because it's not a collaboration, but I'm sure it's not going to be the easiest shoe to get, and because of the comparisons between the Travis Scotts and this shoe, people are definitely going to be hyped over this sneaker. And as of right now, it looks like the Air Jordan 1 Heritage is set to drop on April 9th, 2022, but don't be surprised if the release date is pushed back. Following that up at number 10, we've got the Union LA Nike Dunk Low. So since 2018, Union LA has had some very successful collaborations with Jordan Brand, and now it looks like they're branching into Nike. In fact, I actually proposed to my wife in a pair of Union LA Air Jordan 1 Storm Blues, so I really love their collaborations, not just because of that, but also because I think they just look great overall, and it seems like they're just continuing on with the excellent stream of collaborations. Of course, the Air Jordan 4s were kind of a murky area, at least for me. I didn't love all of them. I know they were popular, but I think some of the colorways were kind of but it seems like they're really catching their stride once again with these Nike Dunk Lows, and I'm very excited for both colorways. So as far as the colorways that are releasing, it looks like there's a gray and green colorway and a blue and purple colorway. And honestly, I'm fine with both colorways. I think they're both great looking shoes. Now, unlike regular pairs of Nike Dunk Lows, this shoe does not come in a leather upper, and instead it looks like Union LA opted to switch things out for a more mesh-based sneaker. And even though the shoe comes with a primarily mesh or plastic covered upper, it's not done in a way that I think looks bad. In fact, I feel like they did a great job sort of mixing colors and textures, and obviously it's a Union LA collaboration on one of the most popular silhouettes, a Nike Dunk, so because of that, I'm sure this shoe will be insanely hyped up. Now, unfortunately, right now, there is no official release date for either of these two colorways, but obviously expect them to come in 2022, probably sometime sooner than later, just because we're getting official images, and usually official images come out for a shoe within a couple months of the release. They're not going to drop official images of like a holiday 2022 release. This is a shoe that's probably going to drop in the spring. Next up at number 9, we've got the Ama Maniere Air Jordan 2s. So I'm sure when Jordan Brand saw the success of what is widely considered to be the best sneaker of the year, the Ama Maniere Air Jordan 3s, they immediately knew they'd want to collaborate more with this brand. Obviously, at the end of 2021, we got the Ama Maniere Air Jordan 1s, and now it looks like we're getting the shoe in between both of those shoes, the Ama Maniere Air Jordan 2. Now, traditionally, the Air Jordan 2 has been one of the least popular Jordan Brand silhouettes, but it seems like with Virgil Abloh sort of reigniting the popularity of the Air Jordan 2, Jordan Brand is running with that and dropping a couple different Air Jordan 2 collaborations throughout 2022. Now, at this moment, there are no leaked images of this sneaker yet, so we don't know exactly what the shoe is going to look like, and I also wouldn't be surprised if they haven't finished designing the shoe yet, or maybe they have and they just haven't manufactured it yet, but for whatever reason, we don't know exactly what it's going to look like. There are some renders that show it kind of looking like a dusty rose maroon colored shoe, similar to what they did on the Air Jordan 3s and the Air Jordan 1s, but either way, I'm extremely excited for this sneaker. Both of those collaborations were excellent and some of the best of the entire year, so they have a lot to live up to, but I think they're up to the task. And as of right now, it seems like the release date for the Ama Maniere Air Jordan 2s is going to be April 29th, 2022. Next up, at number 8, we've got the Air Jordan 1 Yellow Toe. So after Jordan Brand seemingly faking us out in 2019, it looks like we're finally getting a release of this shoe in 2022. This is one of those colorways that I think if it had released back in 2019, it would have been popular, but not insanely popular. But now that we've been kind of waiting on this shoe for the last 3 years at this point, I think the anticipation alone for this release is just going to make this shoe fly off shelves. So as you can tell from the images, it looks like this shoe comes in black toe color blocking. However, it switches out the reds for bright yellows. And while yellow is not one of my favorite colors, there's something nice about this shoe, something really bright and summery about this sneaker, and this is definitely one of those simple Air Jordan 1 colorways that I would love to add to my collection. As far as materials, it looks like this shoe is coming in your standard leather upper. However, I wouldn't be surprised if Jordan Brand decides to switch things up and maybe make a panel patent leather or make something suede or just screw it up in some way that seems unnecessary, but we can all cross our fingers and hope that it comes in tumbled leather as we were expecting. Currently, there is no release date for this shoe, but it is expected to drop sometime in the spring or summer of this upcoming year. However, again, I wouldn't be surprised if this shoe just never happens. I feel like it's one of those shoes that just is gonna elude us forever. Maybe not. I hope it drops, but who knows? Coming in at number 7, we've got the Travis Scott Air Jordan 1 Low Reverse Mocha. So obviously with the way that the year ended for Travis Scott last year, Nike is being justifiably careful about releasing Travis Scott sneakers, which makes a lot of sense. Collaboration aside, I think this Reverse Mocha Air Jordan 1 Low is a very clean looking sneaker. Now I think we have to see how everything sort of pans out with Travis Scott to see whether Jordan Brand will continue collaborating with him. I'm assuming that they will because they probably signed a giant deal with him. But I mean, things could go south and they could cut the collaboration and this shoe could never happen. Who knows? But like I said, this is an incredibly clean colorway. It comes in a brown suede upper, accented by white leather, and then of course a sail colored backwards Nike swoosh. And as far as Travis Scott Air Jordan 1 Low colorways go, I think this is the second best. I think the Travis Scott fragments are the best, and then this one's number 2. And of course, if this shoe does end up coming out, it's going to be incredibly hyped. I haven't heard anything about a new Travis Scott Air Jordan 1 High coming out, so this could be the big Travis release of the year. I'm not sure, but it seems like it. And of course, because of everything going on, there is no release date for the sneaker yet, and until something gets resolved, I don't think there will be. Following that up at number 6, we've got the Nike Air Max Scorpion. So this is actually one of the only GR sneakers on the list. There are a few more, and they're actually near the top of the list, but this is one that I'm incredibly excited about. It kind of seems like the Nike Air Max Scorpion is the next evolution of the Vapor Max, and it's honestly one of the most interesting and exciting things I've seen coming out of Nike in a while. That's not to say that they haven't dropped a lot of cool stuff recently, but I do have to say that in my opinion, this is one of the coolest things that they've dropped because it's such a wild looking shoe. So obviously the eye-catching detail of this sneaker is that brand new air unit that literally looks like you're walking on pillows or just giant bubbles of air. It's crazy. And I also love that it looks like the upper is suspended above these air bubbles in this really cool way that makes them look even lighter and even airier. It honestly looks like a conceptual shoe, like a shoe that a college student designed. It was never gonna come out, and it seems like Nike is really trying something crazy with this one, and I'm so excited for it. And as a product designer and as someone who loves crazy design, this is one of the shoes that I'm most excited about. I realize it's number 6 on the list, so that's already pretty obvious. I could have put this shoe even higher on the list just because of how excited and interested I am in this concept and in the silhouette. According to Sneaker News, the Nike Air Max Scorpion is set to release in September of 2022, but I also wouldn't be surprised to see it drop around Air Max Day. Next up at number 5 are the Union LA Air Jordan 2s. So this is another example of Jordan Brand seemingly trying to push the Air Jordan 2 silhouette, and honestly, this is by far my favorite Air Jordan 2 collaboration that I've seen thus far. And the reason I say that is because this shoe sort of preserves the shape of the silhouette of the Air Jordan 2, but it's not going for a classic colorway, it's not trying something that's been done before. It genuinely is a completely different take on the Air Jordan 2, and I feel like Union LA did an incredible job, just like they did with the original Air Jordan 1 silhouettes. That was such a different look on that shoe, and this is sort of the same thing on the Air Jordan 2. They tried something completely different, and I think it looks great. In addition to the material changes and the different paneling on the shoe, I also really love the color blocking on this sneaker. I feel like the sails that they used, with those little hits of yellow on the insides of the perforation and along the sides of that panel, and also on the eyelets, really make this shoe pop, and actually make this one of the collaborations that I am most excited about this year. I know it's crazy to say because it's an Air Jordan 2, but man, they did a great job on this shoe. It looks incredible. Some of the notable changes on this shoe are the tag on the top of the ankle area, the stitched in details around the main leather panels of the shoe, the perforations that I already mentioned, and of course that signature Union LA yellow tag stitched onto the eyelets. It is a super clean collaboration and a shoe that I am incredibly excited for. And while Jordan Brand is definitely trying to push the Air Jordan 2 silhouette, and after all these collaborations, I'm sure they're just going to drop a bunch of standard Air Jordan 2s to try and capitalize on the hype, this is one of those collaborations that I feel like just nailed it. The fact that they will have had at least 2 excellent Air Jordan 2 collaborations in the span of a year, the Off-White Air Jordan 2 lows and these, means that Jordan Brand knows exactly what they're doing and they're killing it. Currently there is no official release date of these Air Jordan 2s, which have been dubbed the Air Jordan 2 Union LA Ratans, but expect them to drop sometime this year. Coming in at number 4 are the Adidas YEEZY Foam Runner V2s. Now it's not been confirmed that there is a Foam Runner V2 coming out. The only reason people are saying that is because of this image. And what this image looks like is a variation on the Adidas YEEZY Foam Runner, and because of that, people are thinking this is going to be the Foam Runner V2. It also wouldn't surprise me that a version 2 of the Foam Runner is coming out less than 2 years from the original release of the Foam Runner, because Kanye and Adidas love to release second versions of their signature silhouettes very quickly. Like we saw it with the 350s, with the 350 V2s coming out less than a year later. We've seen it with a bunch of other Yeezy shoes, and so because of that, it wouldn't surprise me if this was actually a Yeezy Foam Runner V2. Stylistically, I definitely think I prefer prefer the original foam runners. I love the sort of bulbous toe of that shoe. I think it's wild and weird and different. This one reminds me a lot of like a T-Rex skull or like a Velociraptor skull. This shoe also seems to be a lot more streamlined than the previous foam runners. Not only that, it looks like they've added a rubber outsole onto the shoe, which I guess will help with durability. I haven't had any problems with my foam runners wearing. In fact, they're one of the more durable shoes in my collection, which is crazy to say because they're made of foam. But that seems to be a new addition on this shoe. So while I don't love this shoe aesthetically, at least from this image, I love the original foam runners so much that I'm willing to give this shoe a chance, and I'm very excited about this possible release. And you know what? It happens all the time. When you get a shoe in hand, you like it better because you start to see all the little details that you couldn't see in pictures, and I think that's very possible with this shoe, and I think this could be one of those shoes that becomes one of my most worn sneakers of the year, but we'll just have to wait and see. As far as release information for these possible V2s, we don't really know anything yet, but knowing Kanye and knowing Adidas, they could drop out of nowhere, randomly in the middle of the year. You never know when these shoes are going to drop. It's also possible that we might not see them till 2024, so really who knows, but I'm hoping they drop sooner than later. Next up at number 3 are the New Balance 990 V6s. So this is a shoe that I am personally incredibly excited for. I am a huge fan of New Balance, specifically the 990 series, and the 990 V5s is one of my most worn shoes of the entire year for the last year and a half to 2 years because it came out in 2019. And based on images from Teddy Santis, the founder of ALD and now the creative director of New Balance, the 990 V6 is going to be a banger. Sure, the shoe does look like another New Balance dad shoe, but if you really look at the paneling of this sneaker, you start to notice all the subtle differences between this shoe and the 990 V5, and you realize how much nicer this shoe looks than that shoe. The 990 V5 is an incredibly good looking sneaker, but the 990 V6, man, whew. Wow, this shoe is fire. And in addition to the standard gray on gray colorway of this shoe, I am so excited for the collaborations that will definitely be coming out on this shoe in the future. All of the changes that they seem to have made on the 990 V6 over the 990 V5 seem like good changes, at least visually, and I cannot wait to try this shoe out. And also, it seems like New Balance has been really building up to this release with all the re-releases of the original 990s, and this is one of those shoes that, while it is going to be a more standard GR style release, I am incredibly hyped for this shoe. Yo, New Balance, if you're watching this, if you guys want to send me an early pair review, I really appreciate it. That'd be sick. Hit me up. While there is no official release date for this shoe yet, based on the releases or the re-releases of these 990 sneakers that we've been sort of following over the last couple months, I would expect the 990 V6s to drop sometime in the spring. Coming in at number 2, we've got the Nike Dunk Low Vintage Green. So this is not the only Nike Dunk getting the vintage treatment. We've got a navy colorway coming out, we've got high tops coming out, and I think honestly any of those colorways could have also been on this list. The reason I put the vintage greens at number 2 is because out of all the colorways that are dropping, this one's just my favorite. So seemingly the whole concept behind this shoe is an aged pair of Nike Dunks. Like, it looks like the shoe has been sitting in the vault for a couple years. It's got a yellowed midsole, and while there are people out there going like, okay, come on Nike, you're making like a yellowed midsole version of a shoe you dropped last year. I totally get that, but for some reason, there's something about this slight contrast that this aged midsole gives the shoe that makes me really love the way this sneaker looks. If you look at the first release of the ALD New Balance 550s, this is a very similar colorway, and there's just something about this aged midsole that makes this shoe pop. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's very like trendy and it's gonna go out of style in a couple years, but I just love the look of it, and that's one of the reasons the shoe is on the list, and that's why it's so high on the list, because this is one of those shoes that I could see myself wearing literally every single day. I can totally understand why people wouldn't agree with this shoe being so high on the list. It's totally my own personal opinion. I just love this shoe so much, and I get that it's like, it's really nothing new. It's just a slightly different colorway of a shoe we just got recently, but there's something about it, man. There's just something about this colorway that I love. And honestly, I can see myself grabbing pretty much all of the vintage colorways of the Nike Dunks, the navies, the greens, all of them. I just love it. I really do. It's stupid, but I just do. As you probably could have guessed, there is no release date for these vintage Dunks yet. And then finally, at the number 1 spot, we've got the Air Jordan 1 High 85 Georgetown. So again, like the vintage Dunks, I understand why people might not agree with this shoe being number 1 on the list, but for me, this is a shoe that I absolutely need in my collection. At this moment, I don't have any pairs of the Air Jordan 1 85s, which is a shoe that's cut just like the original Air Jordan 1. The Air Jordan 1 is my favorite silhouette of all time, so it's dumb of me to not have any 85 cuts. And I think this blue and gray colorway is just so ridiculously clean on this 85 cut in particular that I just need to have it. I've got to have it. And honestly, I don't really have anything else to say about it. It's a standard Air Jordan 1 85. The colorway is pretty clean. If you like the Georgetown colorway, you're going to be about this shoe. There's just something about it that I love, and I need to have this shoe in my collection. And currently, it looks like the Air Jordan 1 High 85 Georgetowns are dropping in April, which means we don't have that much longer to wait. So I'm excited. But that pretty much wraps up my entire list for the top 20 most anticipated sneakers of 2022. Now, I would love to know your most anticipated sneakers, so make sure to let me know in the comment section down below. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet. Happy New Year, and I'll see you all in 2022.